We have business IGCSE for May, June 2020. There's a case study for Kara, which makes wax candles. So it's going to be there for people to read. We'll just go to the question immediately. So divine crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a source of finance. So that means crowdfunding is also a way in which a business like Kara could source for its finance. So what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is a source of finance which allows or which involves large numbers of people to contribute small amount of money for a project or business. That is what crowdfunding is. Is it clear? Yes. Stay to economies of scale. When we talk about economies of scale, basically we're talking about a cost advantage that occurs to a business through expansion. It's cost of the cost advantage is because that means the business is having a reduction in its average cost as a result of expansion. That is internal. Then we have external, which means a cost advantage as a result of the industry expanding, then other firms within the industry start witnessing a cost advantage. That is external. So we have internal and external economies of scale. So now we go to, they said, states to economies of scale. So we could talk about internal, we could talk about external, but here we talk about internal economies of scale. We have purchasing economies of scale, which involves bulk buying. We have, I wrote technical economies of scale, which allows a firm to be able to shift or spread its cost through equipment. We have risk bearing, which allows a firm to be able to, or a company, to be able to produce different products. I think the point is clear there. Okay. So we'll move on to question C. Alternative reasons why a bank might want Kara to produce a business plan before agreeing to give a loan. So first, before we go into the reasons, what is a business plan? The business plan is a strategic document that outlines the achievement a company must reach or the goals a company must reach and the time frame with which it has to reach it. So, this is our plan. This is what we are aiming at. We've set it. So we're going to get this to these points within this time frame. So that means whenever you talk about a business plan, it must contain the goals of the business, how it wants to achieve it, and the time frame. I think the point is clear there. So what are the reasons why a manager or the bank manager anyway would need a business plan from Kara? One, a business plan is needed because it's a loan. So if whatever the case might be, you have to put in consideration that a business like this needed the bank for what? It's definitely is going to be for a loan. So the bank manager would need a business plan from Kara to understand its assets to be able to use for collateral. And two, I wrote two things anyway. What I said, banks might want Kara to produce a business plan before agreeing to give a loan based on the following reasons. One, it could be used to provide details about how sales are estimated and revenue. So a business plan might show your cash flow analysis. So if the bank manager wants to give out loan, it will be sure that getting this loan, this business will be able to pay back based on the estimate of sales, which leads to revenue. That's the first reason. And the second one is about the assets Kara has, because whenever you want to take a loan like this is called secured loan. So the bank will not just give out money. The bank will need some assets to stand as a collateral. So through the business plan, Kara would have stated the value of its assets, the value of its liability. So if the value of its assets are convincing for the bank manager, then they can give a loan. So these are two reasons why the bank would ask for a business plan. I think it's clear. Other reasons are there, like maybe financial or financial advice on how to run the business. The banks might provide, the bank might ask for a bank or a business plan to see what the plan is lacking so that they can give advice. So because banks also give financial advice. I think the point is clear. So we go on to question D. Said, explain two factors Kara should consider when deciding whether to increase prices. First, what is the price? The price is the amount paid on a product or service, right? Okay. So I wrote, Kara might consider factors which Kara might consider before making decisions regarding raising prices as follows. One, price elasticity. And what is price elasticity? We're talking about the degree of responsiveness between the quantity demanded of the product as a result of a change in price. So Kara should understand if the PED of its product is price elastic or inelastic. If the PED of Kara's product is price elastic, it becomes difficult for Kara to increase price. Because if Kara increases price at that point in time, the consumption for its products would reduce, meaning customers might choose to buy from other competitors, and the total revenue would fall. But if the price elasticity of demand for Kara's products is inelastic, it means whatever happens, Kara might be able to increase the price and still increase its revenue. I think the first point is clear. The second point I make is about the level of competition. So when we talk about the level of competition, we're talking about the rivals that are involved in the market for candle wax. So if the numbers of competition in the market is high, it means Kara would find it difficult to increase price, because at that point in time, Kara must also try to sell almost the same price as its competitors using maybe competitive pricing. So if the competition is more in the market, Kara would not be able to increase its price, because if it does, customers will start seeking for alternatives. But if the competition is less, then Kara could easily increase price, because its customers do not have more choice to make. I think the point is clear there. Yes. So we go to E. It said, do you think delaying payments to suppliers is the best way for a small business to improve its cash flow? Justify your answer. First, what is cash flow? Cash flow measures how much cash a business takes in, that is inflow, and how much it's spending, outflow. So the inflow against the outflow is what we call cash flow. So when payments are being delayed, how can delaying payments be beneficial to a business? That's the first point there. So I wrote here, I said, delaying payments to suppliers may have a positive impact based on the following reasons. One, it reduces the amount of cash that leaves the business, which means there will be cash to use for other purpose that can improve the business. So if there's a delay in payment to suppliers, it means cash is not going out of the business. At that point in time, the cash that you're not paying to your suppliers, you might be able to use it for other things that could improve your sales, which might later allow you to be able to pay Kara or the owner, the suppliers. That's the first point. The second point I make is that, okay, yeah, based on that, I said, however, suppliers might not be willing to supply materials which the business needs to use. As a result, there won't be production and cash inflow. So if you are delaying the payments of suppliers, the consequence is that you might not be able to get more supplies. And if you are not getting more supplies, how will you be able to sell? How will you be able to produce? And if you are not producing, you won't be able to sell. Then there won't be cash inflow. I think the point about delaying payments is clear there. Yes. Then I said, however, suppliers might not be okay here. A business can also improve its cash flow through other means, not only delaying payment. Because when you delay payment, you are losing the trust of your suppliers. So you should try to think about other means of improving your cash flow, which I use there, overdraft. An overdraft, for a small business here, you can take an overdraft, because an overdraft is the short-term loan, which allows you to withdraw more than your available credit bank balance. So by so doing, you will be able to inject more cash into the business. But the problem about cash inflow, that means you won't be having problems with your suppliers. Your suppliers will come regularly. That means you can also meet up with the needs of your customers. So taking a bank loan or an overdraft allows inflow. But the problem about overdraft is that it increases your expenses, because you have to pay interest and at a short time. And meanwhile, for an overdraft, another problem about overdraft is that banks can call you to pay back at any point in time. There's no what we call there's no agreed term on when you have to pay back. It is always at the call of the bank. Is it clear? And lastly, I said, lastly, it is important for a small business to measure both advantages and disadvantages of improving cash inflow before taking a decision. So we are not going to give the decision. We're not going to make the decision for the business. The business is in best position to take the decision. But what we can only do is to analyze, and it should try to strike a balance in between before taking the decision. I think it's clear. So go to question 2. BCK is a multinational. BCK is a multinational. The case study is there for people to read. The first question says define multinational company. A multinational company is a company which has different branches or different operations in more than one country. That makes you a multinational. And sometimes, most of the time, before the emergence of multinationals, there's what we call the FDI, the foreign direct investment. So they try to invest in a country, and as soon as the investment goes through, then they become a multinational in that country. I think it's clear. So FDI leads to multinational. That's the point there. So go to 2B, right? State two ways of motivating employees. First, what is motivation? Motivation is a way of propelling people, trying to make people to behave in a certain way. That is what motivation is. So for employees to be motivated, so definitely we're talking about motivating employees. So here we're going to say motivation is the way of allowing or propelling employees to behave in a way that brings out the best in them to reach the company's objective. I think you get the point there. So there are different ways in which employers can motivate their employees. One, through job satisfaction. When we talk about job satisfaction, we're talking about job enrichment, job rotation, and job enlargement. So that means you can say job enrichment and job enlargement. Do you get my point here? Another way is through training. For training, I will training as this improves the skills of employees and make them feel valued by employers. With training, though they said we should just mention ways, but I'm trying to elaborate on them. So for training, why will employees be motivated through training? Because it improves their skills and knowledge. And if this is done, it means the company is spending on them. Spending on them makes them to feel like they are valued by the employers, and they should be happy with that. I think the point is clear. So we'll go on. It said, state 4 factors that might affect the leadership style used by a manager. So when we talk about leadership style, before we go into leadership style, what is leadership itself? Leadership is the act of leading. That means through a leader. And a leader is that person who tells us what to do, guides us on how to do it to achieve a set of goals. So for managers, they need a leadership style. So what is leadership style itself? I wrote, leadership style is the approach each manager uses in running the organization. So leadership style is an approach that you can choose to run the organization. I can choose to run the organization. That is what leadership style is. So what are the factors that determine the approach you use as a manager? Number one, so before I go into that, I explained the type of leadership styles we have. We have autocratic, we have democratic, we have paternalistic, and we have laissez-faire leadership style. So let's go to factors. So factors that might affect leadership, that might impact or affect leadership style used by a manager as follows. One, the personality of the manager itself, the personality, who the manager is. What does he believe in? So here I wrote, personality of the manager. This is the kind of person he or she is and the ways he sees each staff. So I have my own personality, I have my own differences, I have my own opinion about the staffs. So what do I see? Which one do I think is more preferable for me to run the organization? That would be the first thing. And that comes to your personality. Okay. The second one, the skills of employees. When we talk about the skills of employees, how does this impact on leadership style? I wrote, this could be said with laissez-faire leadership style, where the managers provide the resources and allow each employee to take charge. For laissez-faire leadership style, it means the manager is there to provide employees with requirements, resources needed, and it allows them to carry on their job. So they become their own boss. So this can only happen if employees have the required skills to carry out those jobs. So if you have skilled employees, then you can use or you can approach them with laissez-faire leadership. I think the second point is clear. Yes. The third one I wrote is about the work to be done. When we talk about the work to be done, I wrote, there are some jobs that need quick response. And if these jobs need quick response, that means we need to get it done as soon as right now. It needs a more of autocratic leadership style. Clear? And the last point I make, because it said 4 factors, I'm making four factors and I'm explaining them. Size of the business. So if how big or small the business is can also determine the leadership style that can be used. For a small business, you might think about democratic. Why? Why do you want to think about democratic? You have to think about democratic to carry along your workers, because a small business allows unofficial means of communication. So, and you can't do it all alone. For you to gain the trust of your workers or subordinates, you can use democratic leadership style. That means they give opinion, you give opinion, then you can use it for the business. I think it's clear. Yes. That is for a small business. But if the business is large, it might be appropriate to use autocratic or democratic in terms of, what do we call it? Consultative. Consultative democratic style. Don't know what consultative is. In democratic leadership style, we have consultative and persuasive. I think consultative and persuasive. I think for consultative, it means we try to get opinion of them. I seek their opinion, I take the decision. And for persuasive, I take the decision and I explain to them why I have to take that decision. So for a large business, you should use persuasive democratic style. Is it clear? Any question about that? Let's move on. Explain two ways BCK could contribute to sustainable development. Before I go to how to contribute to sustainable development. What is sustainable development? I wrote, sustainable development occurs when production decisions involve putting into consideration the future generation. That is sustainable development. So BCK could contribute to sustainable development through the following ways. One, improve efficiency of employees. With efficiency, it brings about reducing wastage, reducing cost of production. So if your employees have improved in terms of efficiency, it means they won't be wasting resources. And that would mean that resources will be enough for the future generation. The first point. Two, reduce, because it deals with gold, reduce the extraction of gold to just the ones needed for production in terms of demand. So BCK can also reduce just extracting gold when they are not needed. So you extract them when there's demand for them. And that could also bring about sustainable development. Is it clear? So move on. Question E. Do you think using communication method based on IT is the best way for a large business to communicate with its suppliers? First, what is communication? Communication is the passing of information from the sender to the receiver. Communication method based on IT, excuse me, is the best way for a large business to communicate with its suppliers based on the following reasons. One, emails. So we're going to mention IT methods of communication, which email is one of them. So for emails, what does it do? It allows detailed information to be passed to suppliers. So that means whatever you need in terms of images, whatever the information is, an email will contain it. And that means you are able to pass detailed information to your suppliers. But the problem about using emails is that suppliers might not read it. It might go to the spam. So if it goes there, suppliers might not read it. And if they don't read it, it means your orders will be delayed. And that is not good for the business. Do you understand emails? Yes. Two, phones is another method through IT. Phones means you have to put a call through to your suppliers. Putting a call through to your suppliers allows a prompt feedback, especially if orders have to be made immediately. But the problem about telephone is that your suppliers might be out of reach, maybe network problem or poor coverage, or their phone is on silent. So that means you might not be able to get a quick response from them. Okay. Yes. Move on. Question 3. Why is a large profitable? It's there for people to read. We have the price per customer, we have the fixed cost, we have the variable cost. The maximum number of customers are there. First question says define brand image. For brand image, this is the unique name of the product that makes it different from those of its competitors. A unique name of a business or a product that makes it different from those of its competitors or rivals. I think that point is clear. Yes. So we'll go to question 2. B. It said calculate the break-even numbers of customers for a typical one flight. Show your workings. First, how do you divide? Break-even is fixed cost divided by contribution. Fixed cost divided by contribution. And for contribution is selling price minus variable cost. I think the point is clear. So our fixed cost here is 2,000. Our contribution is 40 minus 24, which is 16. So 2,000 divided by 16 is 125 people. C. Are there 2 possible problems for UNWA of having a high level of debt? First, what is the debt? The debt is a liability to the third party. The debt is a liability to the third party. So if a business like UNWA is having high level of debt, how can this become a problem? Number one, it brings about cash flow problem. How does it bring about cash flow problem? I wrote, This will be as a result of having to pay back the loans and the interest charged on loans. Because when you have high level of debt, it means you are owing a lot of people, a lot of suppliers, or a lot of banks. And if you are owing them, how do you pay them back? You have to pay back the loans and you have to pay interest charged on the loan. And this takes away more cash outflow than inflow. And that becomes a cash problem. Clear, that's the first one. Two, inability to get additional finance. As most of the loans based on the case study are going to be through bank loans. So this will reduce the confidence banks have on UNWA. They won't be able to give it additional. It becomes a high risk for them. Is it clear? Yes. I said two, I mentioned that. So we'll go to question D. Excuse me. Explain how two methods of sales promotion could increase sales for UNWA. First, what is sales promotion? Sales promotion is a marketing activity designed to increase sales and encourage customer loyalty. Activity designed to increase sales and encourage customer loyalty. That's sales promotion. I think the point is clear there. Yes. So what are the sales promotional methods based on this case study? We have different sales promotional methods. We have BOGOF, we have discounts, we have coupon, we have competition. But here we cannot use BOGOF because it's about tickets. Can't use BOGOF here. I don't think airlines will sell 2 tickets. 1 ticket for you to buy another one for free. We might not talk about BOGOF there. But let's talk about competition. So for competition, UNWA might come up with a competition for those who buy tickets, which means they are likely to win a prize because they bought a ticket. That could increase sales. Clear? Yes. 2, cash discount. Reduction in prices might encourage tourists to buy more tickets as it becomes cheaper for them. And this should be done for a short term. So if you are giving discount, you can't do discount for long term, you can do it for short term. So you have to note that when you talk about cash discount, you should always state it for short term. I think it's clear. Because you can't run, if you run a cash discount for a long time, you're going to run at a loss. Is it clear? Yes. Go to question E, right? Do you think that having many levels of hierarchy is the best type of organizational structure for a large business? Justify your answer. First, what is an organizational structure? I wrote, organizational structure is used to define a hierarchy inside an organization. It's used to define a hierarchy inside an organization. And what's an hierarchy itself? An hierarchy is a system which members of an organization are ranked according to their relative status. I think organizational structure and hierarchy is clear there, right? Yes. So having many levels, based on this, having many levels of hierarchy means a tall structure. That is what it means, okay? And a tall structure will bring about a short chain of command. Do you know that? A tall structure will bring about a short chain of command. So here I wrote, having many levels of hierarchy implies to a tall chain of command. It could be beneficial to the organization based on the following reasons. 1, it reduces the span of control, which means managers will have fewer employees or subordinates to work under. As a result, that will bring about efficiency for managers. So they might be able to do more because they have few people to watch over. They have few employees to watch over. So that means they might be more efficient. Clear? There's a 3 to 6, I think. Yeah. So they can, that means they can be efficient because they will be able to know what each employees are doing. Yes. Clear? 2, it can also provide more promotion opportunities for employees. When you have more managers within an organization, it means other employees can have a promotion to become managers too, and that could also motivate them. Clear? Is it clear there? So no, based on the following reasons. 1, a touching makes managers remote to employees, and this may lead to demotivation and lower productivity. It's a tall chain. So when you look at the numbers of employees under the manager, they are few, but the managers are always far away from them. So being far away from them could demotivate them. As a result, reduces productivity. Clear? Yes. I'm saying no now, right? Also, a tall chain doesn't allow delegation. As a result, workers won't be empowered. This could be demotivating. Here, now I'm talking about a short chain of command. A short chain of command brings a wider span of control. The wider span of control means you have more subordinates under a manager. Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. When you have more employees under a manager, it allows, the manager cannot be everywhere. It means there will be delegation. Delegation means empowerment. But with a tall chain, you have few workers. You can monitor them. You don't need to delegate authority. So a third chain would not empower employees, and that might be demotivating. Clear?
Yes.
Lastly, it all depends on the manager and its leadership staff. If it's an autocratic leader, third structure might be useful, as this will allow this will allow greater control over employees in a large organization. So it takes us back to leadership staff. So if the leadership staff, if the organization is it's a large organization which has a third chain of command, then we should be thinking about autocratic leadership staff. Is it clear?
Yes.
Go to question 4. BMT is a business partnership owned by, the case study is there for people to read. It says, identify 2 reasons why a government might support business startups. We talk about business startups, new businesses, right? So I wrote, a government might support business startups based on the following reasons. 1, reduces unemployment, which is one of the government's macroeconomic objectives. Government wants to ensure that employment is increasing or unemployment is reducing. So to do that, government would be willing to support startups, number 1. 2, increase competition. For increased competition, which allows more customer choices. Clear?
Okay.
Is it clear? Go to 4B. Say 2 types of business organization other than partnership. Other types of business organizations aside partnerships are public corporation, sole trader, public limited company, private limited company, cooperative, and so on. Question C. Outline 2 disadvantages of BMT being a business partnership. So what is partnership itself? Partnership is an agreement between 2 or more people to oversee business operations and share its profits and liabilities. Clear? That is the meaning of partnership. Then we have the disadvantages here. 1, unlimited liability, which means partners might lose their personal assets in case the business, the debt of the business increases and the business is unable to pay that. That's unlimited liability. 2, conflicts. There might be disagreement between partners, which may delay decision making, and they might run out of loss as a result of that. Clear? We go to D. They said, explain 2 ways BMT could achieve lean production. First, what is lean production? Lean production is an approach to management that focuses on reducing waste whilst ensuring quality. It focuses on reducing waste, but putting into consideration quality. Clear? So BMT, BMT may achieve lean production through the following ways. 1, we can use JIT, just in time. For JIT, this could be done by ordering parts and components needed for watches when they are to be produced. This reduces storage cost. And 2, casing, which is the Japanese word for continuous improvement. So continuous improvement, which helps to eliminate errors and mistakes while in the course of making high quality products. Clear? Because lean production talks about reducing waste and increasing quality. Clear?
Yes.
Go to E. Do you think the exchange rate is the most important factor for a business to consider when deciding whether to import parts of the high quality products? I said yes and no anyway. But first, what is an exchange rate? Exchange rate is the price of a country's currency in relation to other countries' currencies. Clear?
Yes.
So now, for import itself, import represents buying from foreign businesses or suppliers. So for exchange rate itself, exchange rate here will be linked to floating exchange rate, which means it can appreciate or depreciate. So appreciation of the currency will determine importation. Depreciation of the currency would also determine importation. So we start with appreciation. So for appreciation, I wrote, this allows a country's currency to buy more of foreign currencies. Imports become cheaper. This reduces the cost of production, which may allow the business to sell at a lower price. And also, it can also increase the profit margin of the business and increases profit margin. Is that clear?
Yes.
That is if the currency is appreciating, then we can take decision about importing. Now go to depreciation. For depreciation, I wrote, this reduces the value of a country's currency, allowing less foreign currency to buy more of the domestic currency. This will increase the price of imports. As a result, raises the cost of production for firms. So it is not ideal or advisable to import at this time when your country's currency is depreciating. Clear?
Yes.
However, there are other factors that need to be considered as importation is part of international trade. Therefore, factors such as tariffs should be considered. And when we talk about tariffs, we're talking about taxes on imports. So how much tax are you paying on imports? How less tax are you paying on imports can also determine if you should do imports or not. Also, you can think about quotas, embargoes. So there are different things you should think about when you want to decide on importation, because importation is about international trade. Any question about it? So that ends paper 1, May, June 2020. Thank you.